micro texture, it can get quite matted. I'm not saying it looks messy, but I'm just saying it might just be difficult to style, maybe.
Understood. It was Nicki Minaj I was thinking of, by the way.
Nicki Minaj, yeah, she comes from Trinidad. Yeah,
there we go.
That's correct. Yeah.
Take care, Charlotte. See ya.
Okay, bye.
Thanks so much. Oh, great callers today. Charlotte, Trevor, thank you all very much indeed. Time is pressing us. It's nearly time for the news. And after that, we will talk about the number of phones being snatched in cities. And I wonder whether you're somebody who's been standing there in the street and you've got your mobile and it just goes. And it goes so fast you wouldn't believe it. BBC Radio 2, we are on the smart speaker, on the Sounds app and 88 to 91 FM. Do stay with us.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Justine Green. Joe Biden and Rishi Sunak have held talks in Belfast as the US president visits Northern Ireland to mark a major anniversary. Hundreds of bereaved relatives, survivors and residents have agreed a settlement of civil claims arising from the Grenfell Tower fire. And Elon Musk has said his takeover of Twitter was a roller coaster in an exclusive interview with the BBC. President Biden has held talks with Rishi Sunak in Belfast during a visit to mark the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Peace Agreement. Speaking before the meeting, the US president said he was there to listen. In the past few minutes, Mr. Biden has begun making a speech at Ulster University, where he's expected to encourage the restoration of power sharing at Stormont before travelling to the Irish Republic, where he has family roots. Our Ireland correspondent Chris Page says both Unionists and Republicans will be listening closely to the president.
Unionists have always been a little bit more suspicious, I think it's fair to say, of American involvement in Northern Ireland. So I think Unionists will be wanting to hear President Biden reaffirm his impartiality as regards the future status of Northern Ireland. What I think all sides will be looking for is a pledge of economic support. If there's one thing people have agreed on, it is that economic prosperity in all communities is important for securing the peace.
Police are investigating what they've described as a breach of the security operation for President Biden's visit after a member of the public found a document containing details about the deployment of officers across Belfast city centre. Police have insisted they are taking safety extremely seriously. More than 900 people whose lives were devastated by the Grenfell Tower fire are to receive damages from companies involved in the disaster. Civil cases brought by bereaved relatives, survivors and local residents have been settled after months of private negotiations. But the victims insist their fight for justice will continue. Here's our Home Affairs correspondent Tom Simons.
This breakthrough out-of-court settlement means, for the first time, a string of companies and the local council will be paying compensation for deaths, injuries and trauma resulting from the fire. There will be payments for the majority of residents of the tower, bereaved family members and people who lived in the estate surrounding Grenfell. Lawyers said an undisclosed global sum would be shared between claimants according to their specific circumstances. But no one who's been awarded damages has commented publicly. They are intent on obtaining justice through criminal investigations, the results of which won't be known until after the public inquiry into the fire delivers its final report.
The owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, has told the BBC that running the social media giant has been quite painful. He said constant criticism was hard to deal with, but defended his sacking of most of Twitter's staff, saying the firm would have gone bankrupt otherwise. Mr. Musk was speaking to our technology reporter James Clayton after agreeing to a last-minute interview.
The hastily arranged interview was unexpected and at times bizarre. In a wide-ranging discussion, he covered mass layoffs, misinformation and his work habits. He said misinformation had not increased on the platform, despite admitting to reducing content moderation. The multi-billionaire entrepreneur also said he would sell the company if the right person came along. Asked about a label he'd added to the BBC's Twitter account which says government-funded media, he said it would now be changed to publicly funded media after a complaint from the BBC.
The Doctors' Union, the British Medical Association, says it's held talks with the conciliation service ACAS to try to get its pay dispute with the government resolved as quickly as possible. Junior doctors across England are staging the second of 4 consecutive days of strike action, causing hundreds of thousands of operations and appointments to be postponed. The government is refusing to talk to the BMA unless the union calls off the walkouts and backs down over its demand for a 35% pay rise. A company that designs a third of the world's banknotes has said the global demand for currency has fallen to its lowest level in 20 years. De La Rue has warned that the drop will hit its full-year profits, as our business reporter Noor Nanji explains.
The number of people using contactless and online payments has been rising around the world, but De La Rue insisted that's not the reason for the current downturn in cash. It told the BBC when COVID struck, central banks stocked up on banknotes, as they often do during crises. Central banks are now delaying new orders as they run through their stocks. De La Rue is now having to renegotiate its own loan agreements, but the printing company said there were signs of a recovery.
The Radio 2 presenter Rylan Clark is stepping down from hosting the BBC's Strictly Come Dancing spin-off show, It Takes Two. He said he'd had 4 fantastic years working on the programme, but the time had come for him to hang up his glittery jacket and pass on the baton to someone else. His replacement will be announced in due course. And the weather, a cloudy afternoon with blustery and heavy outbreaks of rain, with the wind strongest in the south and west of the UK, and highs of 12 Celsius in London, 10 in Edinburgh and 9 in Cardiff and Belfast. BBC News, it's 1:05.
Listen live on the BBC Sounds app. BBC Radio
2. Out of the ruins, out from the wreckage, can't make the same mistake this time. We are the children, the last generation. We are the